Hey folks, I just wanted to demonstrate a few tips that I came across, some challenges when I put the trailer hitch on the Eco Diesel, the 2018 through 2021 JL with the diesel. Came into a few challenges unlike the gas-powered models. Obviously, there's the diesel tank reservoir for the additive is what presented the most challenges. There's a factory, this is the factory housing for that tank, and you can see that there's this bracket that comes and it goes right where you need your trailer hitch to go. So this is a CURT, C-U-R-T, CURT 13392 model. Very well built. I was very happy with the way it was constructed. A lot of good qualities with it. It came with the grade 8 bolts. However, I did have to trim. Some people might be uncomfortable with this, but I had to trim the factory bracket back along with notching out a little bit of the hitch. In my opinion, it did not jeopardize any of the integrity of either. I'm comfortable with this. I'm probably going to reinforce this somehow with either a slip-on nut in the back and drill another pilot here and secure it, but it is very solid. A couple of the things that I had to do for this to sandwich up in between the back of the bumper and the frame was I had to pull the bumper out temporarily, and the easiest way to do that, what I found is, I followed some other instructions from some other videos, and I found that I did not need to do that. There are some bolts here on the outer side of the bumper that they recommend taking out. I did not have to take them out. I'm still have to reattach them, so I'm still not finished with this project. But so you could leave those, but I did have to take this bolt out, and I had to take this bolt out, and then on the driver's side I had to take the factory recovery hook off of here because it angles up and attaches to these bolts here, so I have to reattach that still. So I took those out, I took these out. On the passenger side, you're going to find up in here those same bolts that I just referenced on the other side. I had to take those out. A couple other little things to get the bumper to slide back is on both sides. The other thing in the other videos, they'll say to loosen these. There's quite a bit of threads on here for you to pull the bumper out. I did not have to do that with this one. However, there are bolts back here further out on the bumper. These are still loose. I have to tighten them up. That I was able to get all the threads all the way out, and allowed me enough to sandwich that hitch up in between the bumper and the frame. I still have to snug those up. To access this, what I recommend, there's a cover here. You can see some hardware here. There are a few other, right here, a few other points. There's 3 on each side. So there's a cover, plastic cover that goes here. I highly recommend taking those out. They only take a second. It's 8mm socket, and these are the covers here. They just kind of cover those bolts. If you take these out, it goes a lot quicker rather than trying to get your hand behind that. The other challenge I had with the only gripe I had with the CURT hitch was I really had to hone out all 4 of those grade 8 bolts where they go on both sides, on the back side here, and then on the, can't really see it, but back up in here I had to hone those out because they weren't lining up with the factory bolts as well as I'd like them to, and it was really a bugger to get them in there. So I used a rasp file. I tried a drill. I've tried another tool, but it just wasn't working for me. So it was some hard labor, but I ended up filing those out enough to where those would slip in nicely. The other challenge is accessing the bolts to tighten them up back there. It's really tight. You can see, and again, I apologize for my horrible video. I'm not a videographer here, but I'm trying to save the next guy for a little bit of time. So you can see the bolts up there. Actually, the hardware is really nice. Those are locking nuts on the back side, so you don't need a lock washer. I did lose one, so on the first one that I showed you up here, I did have to put a standard lug nut and lock washer behind it, but that was my own doing. But overall, it is solid. This thing isn't going anywhere. No one's going to be able to steal this. They're going to have to steal the whole car if they want it. But again, I know some of this was upside down and backwards for you guys. But the other thing, to access the heads on these grade 8 bolts, what I recommend is to support your tank, your diesel additive tank, with a floor jack right here. Just right down the center of this bar supports all that. Also supports your muffler that's right next to it. And there's a bolt on each side. You can see I still need to raise that up and lock it in place. But what that will allow you to do, if you take them both out and put a jack under here and take this one out, take this bolt out, is that it will drop all that down a good 5 or 6 inches, and it really makes it easier to access these bolts, because you can see how tight it is now. It is really tight up in there. So a couple tips. I hope this helps you guys out. You know, where I had to cut here to make this fit because of that bracket. Again, if you're going to do any cutting like that, that's your own call. You know, unless you can talk to the dealer or find another one. Maybe Mopar makes one, but I looked around, I couldn't find one, and I made this work. But if you're going to do that, I highly recommend some primer and some paint on those bare surfaces after you end up cutting them. So anyway, I hope this helps out. Again, I'm really happy with this. It really turned out nice. It's solid. The thing's not going anywhere, and it's going to give me a lot of years of good service. So anyway, again, guys, this is for the Eco Diesel, not your gas-powered JL model. So all right, good luck.